Hi, this is Pierre McGuire. You're listening to and watching Missin Curfew.
What's Missin Curfew? It's when you kind of play guilty, but you show up.
How nice is a green light on the road, though? No practice tomorrow, no plane, just go.
Scotty Upshall in the clear, and he scores! Right in front, scores!
A few laughs, a little bit of fun, and obviously a lot of hockey talk.
You're listening to Missin Curfew.
Fellas, coming to you from Hall Pass Media, Newport Beach, this is Missin Curfew. And before the boys start snapping around crispy rice, spicy tuna, this show is always presented by DraftKings. DraftKings, the crown is yours. Oh, the up dog, our boy Swishy Swish 93.1. Fellas, how we doing? Back in the studio, holiday season, boys dinner tonight.
Yeah, let's go. OG Newport. We got the Sprinter van.
Yeah.
Shout out to
Luxury Auto
Collection. We got the Sprinter van, G Money, picking up the fellas. A little steak dinner before some of us get on our way, celebrating St. Nick. We hope everyone's having a good holiday season, staying safe out there. Schmaltzy, how the hell are you, fella?
Good, boys. Good. All good over here. Gearing up for, I don't know, the weekend. I'm going to be in Park City next week, so I don't know. I'm on the mend right now. I'm still recovering from this bend I'm coming up. But where are the boys going tonight? What do we got on? Is it a restaurant? What do we got on tap?
We do got a little A restaurant. Turn the clocks back.
EHA, fella.
I thought when you're getting the original OG Newport crew together, Swishy Swish, you got to go back to the original OG A restaurant over the boys used to hold court way off to.
Totally. And let me ask you this, Schmaltzy. You know, I've taken the last 3 days off, which is shocking, but I feel like shit. Is this normal or?
Yeah.
So when you take days off, you feel like shit.
Yeah.
You got to just keep on.
Yeah, that's the hardest part. Like, if you're gonna get off of it, you're gonna be stung for a few days, like not feeling great.
Yeah, I see.
That's where I think if you had a little puff of the pen at night, it would help you kind of get. Did you have any puffs or no?
You know what? I ate a gummy.
Okay.
And I fell asleep in Beckham's bed. I fell asleep till midnight. Got out. Fell asleep.
Was Beckham in there with you, or just you?
No, he was. I put the kids down. I jump in Beckham's bed, tuck him in, scratch his back a bit, and then. If it's not bedtime, story time. But anyway, fell asleep, just cooked.
Yeah.
And then got up at midnight, went in, crushed like a full jug of OJ. I was thirsty. And then I ate a couple caramels. Yeah, they had the munchies. Yeah. And then I laid down till 2:30, woke up, couldn't fucking sleep. So I've been up since, it's been a minute. But I'm all fucked up, boys.
Yeah, I know. Yeah.
Oh, no, you are.
The fact that you like the weed gummies, I wish I did, Swishy. They don't sit well with me, because I think that's a good answer not to drink. Just take down a gummy, right, Swish?
Yeah, I like to, if I'm going to indulge in that, in the THC, I'll go gummy over a pen or a joint, just because you save the lungs a little bit. You know what I mean? You have 5 or 10 milligrams. You can kind of just chill there. You're cooked. It hits the body. It's almost like a whole body buzz. I like that.
Save the lungs for cigars on the course.
I got all kinds of nice
and dart.
My house right.
Do you? Yeah, nice.
Tons.
Are you gonna bring some home?
Probably not.
Yeah. No one smokes back in Canada. They just go out the dart. They just smoke darts.
Unless you go out I had this beauty Missin Curfew fan DMing me last night, and I was just texting with him. He's all pin drinking Crown Royal. And he's like, "Yeah, I'm just fucking rice, but I'm keeping the buzz going." He goes, "And I'm hacking darts in the house."
Oh, it's standard protocol up in Canada around the holidays. Wife just hates you. Fuck off.
Yeah.
I'm smoking this right on the couch.
That's why you got to have a nice garage, I think, back home, right? You go out in the garage, smoke your cigars, cigarettes, doobies.
Gotta have a place to get away. Yeah. Watch your Oilers actually, the Oilers playing good now, but I was going to say watch your Oilers lose. But fuck.
I'll tell you what, speaking of the oil, McDavid has found his legs.
I guess so.
Oh my God.
Is it always this? He just likes to bring it down. He's like crypto fuck for me. Just when you think you're down in the dumps, he comes right back storming hot.
They're historically bad, slow starters, but like going back-to-back finals. And
I know, but like he turns it on like this time of year when everyone's like dog daying it and fucking ready for the holidays. He's on a mission.
Yeah, I think he can see the Olympics in his near future, and then after the Olympics, I think he can taste. I mean, we got to think those two boys, Draisaitl and McDavid, are just, even when the season started, they're like, fucking 82 games. Just get me back to game 1 of the first round. So I think he's starting to realize, okay, I got to get going for the Olympics. And he's got to get his team in the playoffs, right? Swishy, but I think the Olympics are a month and a half and away or whatever it is. He's gearing up.
For sure. And, this time of year, a lot of guys seem to be slowing down. But for him, he probably sees this first break with Christmas coming up here. So it's a sprint to Christmas, get a few days off, and then obviously amp it up as you get into the Olympics. But those guys, man, especially playing in that many finals, and even look at just the guys in Florida with 3 straight, like, you can't, it's a nationally you're getting paid, but you can't be like overly thrilled getting to game 1. You're like, holy fuck, you're staring down 82. It can be daunting.
Yeah, well, there's a difference between doing that with the good vitamin D of South Florida to just doing it with the wind chill of Edmonton through the course of. But listen, I saw a video of him and his girl. He had his head to toe in aloe gear, and he's outside in Edmonton running the stairs. I'm like, okay, this guy's just different. Like,
Yeah.
I'd be on the couch down
It's
the
a content play, right?
Is that content?
Has to be. I know he didn't tag Aloe on it, or maybe he did. But that's a full content play. There's no way I would allow Connor to be out there running up and down staircases, risking a sprained ankle or a frostbite. No chance.
Frostbite.
Right.
Well, McDavid's got frostbite from running the stairs. He's out tonight, boys.
By the way, that River Valley, those stairs were, I grew up training right there. I used to fucking carry Sean Bell up my back. Remember Sean Bell?
Yeah,
I used to carry him up my back. And LaRock, fuck's sake.
You didn't carry George LaRock.
Georgie, big fucking fat Georgie at the time, was right up my back carrying me up, and vice versa. I was $185 soaking wet, but no, it was part of Simon Bennett's fucking workout plan back in the day.
Yeah, I used to hate running.
Ask MC. MC was there.
I used to hate running hills, but he's flying. Speaking of guys who weren't flying, let's go back to the Aspen alumni game here. Switch. I completely forgot about this on Tuesday's show. But the opening face-off, Forsberg goes over the boards for us. We're like, fuck right, Forsberg, Hall of Famer. Over comes the up dog. I'm like, okay, he's done a lot for this tournament. He's probably the captain. And I'm just like, Quincy, watch this face-off. So he's going to do something here. And he doesn't even let Forsberg win the draw. He snaps it back for him, Swishy. We're on the bench like, are you kidding me, Upshall?
He says, did he say what goes? Yeah, it's for the kids, eh? I said, fuck that. I'm winning this thing.
Snaps it back from the Hall of Famer, Swishy.
I loved it too. Yeah, right back to my D partner, Brian McCabe, Caber. And yeah, we went D to D right. I knew Uppy was going to win that draw, though. Like, he was just, the bottom hand looked heavy. Fupa.
Yeah.
He didn't look like he was at the same level of competitive juices flowing as the up dog. I knew that was coming back.
Guys, I'll just be honest. I haven't taken an opening draw like that with photo time. Maybe never. So, maybe going back to my World Junior days as captain. But in saying that, I thought he was going to activate a little more of his stick tap. I thought he was going to you get a little bit of a show. Like, we leave the puck there, but we smack each other's sticks. That's kind of what I did. And then I snapped it back.
Yeah.
I wasn't losing that.
You want it clean.
And then but to start the game off, shout out to our boy Roger. I told Roger, I'm like, buddy, we're starting here. Me, you, and Lupo, like, let's go. I'm like, you got the draw. I got wing. He's like, no. Who's taking the draw there? I go, well, it's Forsberg. He's like, I'm going to take the draw against Forsberg. I said, yeah, get in there. Fucking snap it back. So he did. It was great. Fantastic.
Roger played his guts out.
He did. I actually saw some clips of great stop-starts on him.
Yeah.
Way more than Loops. Loople didn't have any stops and starts.
Oops.
He just hit the boards a few times.
We're driving home and Loops is like, what am I going to do with my gear, eh, Swishy? I'm like, see that river right there? Throw it right in that fucking river, Loople. Because, fella, you done. It's over. You're done.
Dude, during the fantasy camp game on Friday, I was talking to Loops as we're just, there was 35 guys on the bench. And he looks at me, he goes, yeah, I actually, because I was chirping him a little bit, not really chirping him, but like, Loops, you still got the Reebok pumps? He's like, oh yeah. He's like, I actually threw him in the oven yesterday. So Lupo rebaked his skates, threw them on, out of the oven, and then wore them the following day. So I thought that was pretty funny. He was dying laughing, though. I've never heard of a guy rebaking his skates, especially with the pair that's like 15 years old.
He's like, yeah, I baked my skate soaps, and then I just did a little banana bread. Kill two birds with one stone, eh? I'm like, save me a slice of that banana bread, fella.
Stinky. That was some stinky banana bread.
Okay, so you could just throw your skates in any oven?
Yeah. 325 or maybe a little less.
Slow.
And you do it like 9 minutes. I think if you ChatGPT tell you, I did it with my kids' skates.
Do you think in these opening face-offs around the league that maybe people should go a little more up dog here and not just let the home team / guy win it? Maybe think some kid will get his hand hit or something, but
it'll be a high stick or something.
Yeah, I can't do it.
Some old timer just in there dropping the biscuit and fucking takes his finger off.
I thought it was hilarious. We were dying on the Avs bench. So up dog, way to snap that one back. Boys, some big news kind of in our world. Obviously, Dave Portnoy, who I think is one of the smartest guys out there. Barstool has signed on with Netflix. Listen, Portnoy's a genius. I miss his show. I used to have the Dave Portnoy show that I would listen to and just, trying to learn the business side of it. I think he's a genius. But anyways, where I'm going with this is the clip that he had, because he was taking some heat. Ice Pick's a good guy. So when I sent it to Ice Pick, Ice, what did you say about, podcasts being on not on YouTube?
Well, I just watch all my podcasts pretty much on YouTube, and I don't know if they're going to lose viewers because they're going to Netflix. It's a good move. I imagine they're going to make a ton of money. I'm just worried if they're going to keep all their YouTube subscribers and everybody that watches on TV.
Everyone has Netflix though, right?
Yeah, I mean,
Everybody has Netflix.
I think that everyone. Well, I actually don't anymore. But I will tell you why. It's because I got the hack. So anyway, in saying that, YouTube, do you subscribe to YouTube? Not YouTube TV. Do you subscribe to YouTube?
I think I subscribe to the Missin Curfew YouTube. By the way, if you haven't subscribed, please subscribe.
Yeah, I know. So, well,
I don't think I subscribe,
but I subscribe. It's $9 a month or something, but it gives you no ads. There's nothing worse than ads listening to YouTube music or going on to see original content and there's ads. So I think this is a way to just make a full subscription play for them.
So you're doing like YouTube Premium?
Yeah, I do YouTube Premium.
Okay.
So if I put the kids' shows on and shit like that, there's no weird funky ads coming out wasting 2 minutes of your time.
Swishy, are you a premium guy on YouTube?
I am, and I just wanted to say that Netflix has over 300 million paid subscribers globally. So I think, for a play like with Barstool having their 3 biggest podcasts on there, I don't anticipate them maybe at the start losing some views, but I think over time it'll all even out. But yeah, it's cool. I've always kind of thought this was the way. I'm not saying I know everything, but I just think more podcasts are going to be going to these streaming devices. They're going to compete with YouTube. I think Amazon, Hulu, all of this will be in the mix with podcasts. I just think, like Ice Pick said, that generation, especially kids younger than me, everyone watches podcasts. They don't really listen to it just on Spotify or Apple. They all watch it. I have a cousin that's 23 years old. They just put it on the TV and they watch. So it's a good play. And like a lot of things, Portnoy always just seems to be a little bit ahead of the curve and kind of pushing the envelope, especially with the internet.
Yeah, to me, I'm not a big YouTube guy. But my nephews, Porter, my oldest nephew, who's 8, all he does is watch YouTube. But for me, I just think if it's on Netflix, in my opinion, it's almost easier to watch than YouTube, because everyone just, I don't know about you, but every day I turn on Netflix for something, right? And if I see, a podcast up there I'm going to flip it on. So to me, I just think, I'm with you, Swish. I think this is good for everyone kind of in this business. And obviously, like you said about Portnoy, he's ahead of the curve. The reason I want to talk to you about it with you boys, though, obviously he was taking some heat from the haters out there, right? Because I don't know how much money they got, but they obviously got nice payday. And he's sitting on his own private beach in Miami, with the cigar, drinking high noon. He's like, to all you haters out there, I will be a sellout when I'm sitting on my own private beach, smoking a cigar, drinking a high noon. I'm like, this guy is he gets it, man. Yeah. I laughed at that clip. I'm like, that's how you just pretty much stick it up everyone's ass and say, fuck off, beat it. So we'll see. I think it's good for everybody in this line of work. So we'll see how it plays out. Portnoy, you're a legend. Boys, moving on here, a little intro. World Juniors right around the corner. Swishy, you said throughout the Jays World Series run, play the hip, fella. Well, the goal song, Up Dog, is Courage from the Tragically Hip. To the young boys of Team Canada, good on you. I love that they still just look at the hip, man. Courage!
Yeah, I listened to Gavin McKenna's post game last night too, and there's humility to this right now. They got smacked around the last couple of years, and I think they were first to admit it, and that this year they're going to have the courage to just not worry about that shit and go out and lay their best foot forward. So I love it. Play the Hip has been our little model here for the last 4 months, that little run from the Jays.
Yeah.
I used to play fucking what's the tune?
Great too?
Grace 2. So
Yeah.
fucking,
I was listening on the way to the studio.
I used to play Grace 2, fella. That's a jam.
Yeah.
I used to fire that on with Bobo in the room there too. But I think it's great. It's gonna be a great tourney.
Fuck, they look good last
Hopefully
night.
we hear that song a lot.
They look good last night against Sweden. They played in Kitch, but hippie. I mean, Swishy, I know you're play the hip, eh, fella? You're honorary Canadian.
Oh yeah, 100%. I mean, like it kind of dates back to even the past run with the Oilers, and we were sitting there in June. We were in Edmonton for those games, and we had that little sprinter van. We were bumping the hip. Updog had the tunes going. So yeah, I like it, fellas, and I think just in all seriousness with Team Canada, I think they feel that way that. A lot of these kids, this is their dream, obviously, to play for the World Juniors. When you're a young kid, you're looking at the first tournament you can really represent your country. And that is the World Juniors. And with that, playing in Canada especially comes with a lot of pressure, more than any other country. So I think for these kids, I like that mantra. I like that motto. And let's roll this into St. Paul and see what these boys can do.
I'm betting on them. Yeah. After I heard that, I'm betting on them. Courage, come on. What a fucking tune. Blow It High Door, too, or High Doe is a great tune, too.
Blow It High Doe. Yeah. A little pistol.
Wheat Kings, too.
Wheat Kings is unbelievable. I was pumping after game 5. Yeah, game 5 when the Jays went and beat the Dodgers. I was playing the hip so loud on the bus that Loops was like, turn it down. I'm like, I'm not turning this fucking down, Loople. I am not. We are 1 win away from the World Series. If anything, I'm turning it up. So to the Canadian boys, hey, do you still have your World Junior captain tarp, or your parents have that? Or?
Yeah, my parents got it. Yeah.
That's a nice keepsake.
Yeah, got both.
Did the boys vote for you to be captain, or how'd you? Yeah.
Yeah, I think so. I don't know. Cool. Yeah. I remember the funny story about that. I woke up on the last cut day, right? So it was kind of cutthroat schmaltzy with Team Canada. The morning of final cuts, they used to call guys' rooms, and you'd always have a roommate. So I was rooming with Matt Stajan. And because I had played the year before and I was basically a shoo-in on the team, if that phone was ringing in the morning, it was going to be for Stage, right? So I fucking phone rings and I'm like, what the fuck? So Stage answers it. He gets up out of his bed. He answers it and he goes, fuck up. It's for you. I go, what?
And you were on the team the year before.
Yeah. I'm like, what? And then it's fucking Mark Habscheid. He goes, he was our coach. He goes, say, Uppy, it's Haber. Can I see you at the office, or can I see you in room, blah, blah, blah. I'm like, yeah, no problem. I'm like, what the hell? Like,
so you think you might be getting sick?
I don't know what the hell. Yeah. So I'm like, oh my God. And it was at the time where I knew phones were ringing. Like there's probably 6 cuts that need to be made.
Yeah.
So I'm like, shit, I gear up and I was already fresh. You still don't sleep the night before that anyway, but
I bet.
Go in there and walk in and I'm like, hey guys, and coaches, and they're all serious. And they're like, man, it's been a good camp and I don't know how to, kind of tell you this. And I was,
so they're dragging you along.
I'm like, what are you, what? And then they're like, we're just fucking with you. But something serious, no, we're going to make you the team captain. We feel like it's the right call. And, you got the respect from your teammates and you feel like the guy to get this job done. And I was just like, holy shit. I'm like, you guys should have seen Stage when he jumped up out of bed. They're like, you can tell Stage he's on the team.
Yeah.
Like, okay, good.
That's awesome.
Because it was,
I mean, besides, being a captain of a Stanley Cup winning team or being a captain of the National League in general, I guess, being the captain of the World Junior team is probably right fucking there as, Swishy has bucket list things or just a nice feather in your cap, Swish?
Oh, I would argue it's cooler than being a captain of some NHL teams, depending on the team.
For sure.
That's a sweet honor. That's you're recognized as the top dog on the top team every year for your age group in the World Junior. That's no easy feat. That's respectable.
Yeah, the up dog, eh? I can't wait for the World Juniors. I like that it's in mini. I like that we're not on home soil. There's not as much pressure on us. The fucking beauties from Manitoba can come on down, from Thunder Bay can come on down to Minnesota. We're going to go in there and fucking win
There'll
that
be some
gold medal.
fights in the parking lot.
Yeah.
For sure.
Blue lights passed around. Let's go, boys. Good luck, fellas. Courage by the hip. I love it. Last but not least here, I wore the fella gloves in the Aston tourney, and I had some of the boys reaching out on social. So I reached out to our boy Andy Sutton at Verbero Hockey. We're doing a little thing with them throughout the holiday season. It's going to go into the new year. They got gloves, some performance hoodies, some performance t-shirts. It's more like workout stuff than it is just like our normal gear. So they have jerseys, hockey bags, and then those fella gloves, which are mint. So if you want to check them out, go to verberohockey.com. Like I said, it's going to run just into the new year. But Sutsy, we appreciate it, fella. We'll be right back at Missin Curfew. Welcome back to Missin Curfew. Pick6, fellas. DraftKings' newest fantasy pick'em game. Just choose more or less on 2 or more players' stats. The more accurate your picks, the bigger the payout, fellas. Get in and see how just a few picks can turn into some nice dough. Well, boys, I caught a winner, but now I'm ice cold swishy. Last night, by the way, the Mammoth Hockey Club went into the Little Caesar Arena and put a little beat down on the Wings. I don't think the Red Wings are as good. We're sitting here today. I believe they are leading the Atlantic Division. They are. They got 41 points, 1 point ahead of the Boston Bruins. I don't know if this team's as good as their record, Swishy, but last night, the only guy that came through for me, I went 1 for 6 on my Pick6 app. The Fact Daddy, Ryan O'Reilly, they lost 4-1, but he got me over half a point. I just had ESPN up here as well, and there's a little rumor that the Fact Daddy maybe to the Capitals.
Wow.
That'd be a great fit for him.
I love that. Him feeding.
Just veteran guys in there.
That'd be great.
Go no bucket.
Him in the bumper.
Him in the bumper. But the rest was ice cold. Kyle Connor, over half a goal. No, they got shut out in St. Louis. DeBrincat, over half a goal. No. Larkin, over half a point. No. Mitch Marner, over half a point. No. And Raymond, over half a point. No. So, boys, I'm back to being ice cold. Updog, did you tickle it there?
Yeah, I did. Listen, the other night, Leon Draisaitl at Pittsburgh for his 1,000th assist, 1,000th point. I went over 1 point, got it. Nathan McKinnon over 1 goal. Boom. Cale McCarr, fellas, over a point. Boom. Natchez, over a point. Boom. And then I have it down to the 5th and last, Evan Bouchard, over 2.5 shots on goal. He got 2.
No.
So I got a 4 for 5, and you
get your money back in a little bit more, right?
Not even. Or it says entry $100, winnings $18.
Ooh.
Yeah, that's not perfect.
That's not perfect.
But I got 4 out of 5. You think that's pretty good?
Benji on that?
I put a Benji on that. I thought it was a lot.
4 out of 5 or 5 out of 6, you mean?
I got
like 6.
Yeah, I know, but I only did 5. So I guess if you would 5.
So if you would have went 6, you would have got more money back. Like if you would have went 5 for 6.
6, yeah.
If you went 4 for 5.
It's not called pick 5.
That's like a good old road trip. That's like a good old road trip for him back in the day. Especially you went 4. Updog went 4 for 5 on the road trip, boys. But
oh damn. Switch at 6.
You been tickling the pick 6, fella?
Yeah, I got one here. It was Tuesday. It was a barn burner, and I went with Clayton Keller over 2.5 shots. Hit that. Pasternak over 2.5 shots. Hit that. Chris Letang over 0.5 shots. Hit that. Sidney Crosby over 1.5 shots. Hit that. Quinn Hughes over 1.5. Hit that for shots. The only guy that fucked me on this bet was Noah Cates, and all he needed was 1 SOG. Oops, that would have been a big one to hit. But ultimately, 5 out of 6 got a little money back, but didn't hit the big dog. That was a $75 for 445. That's him. So what it could have been.
Who was your last guy? Noah Cates?
Yeah, he plays for Philly, number 27.
Oh, yeah. Wow, off the board. Good little pick off the board there, fella.
Well, I like those lines that you only need 1 shot to hit it, right?
Yeah.
You could get over your own offensive zone blue line and just muster one to the net.
Oh, a little sifter on net there, eh?
Can't get a shot. Turn your dick in.
Exactly.
Yeah.
I mean, I went low at games without getting a shot.
You know who always has that line I've been seeing on the app too is the Factor. The Factor is always around 1 shot or 0.5 shots, and usually he'll hit it. So Ryan O'Reilly is a good one to tickle. I've probably hit him with 0.5 shots, taking the over, obviously, 3 or 4 times now.
I like that. Pick6 app, get in there. By the way, speaking of guys dishing it, Clayton Keller last night looked really, really good. Like, fuck, he just, when he has it on a string there, he did a little fucking sauce to that Stunlin right in the slot, and that Stunlin with his fishbowl on fucking buried a 5-0 on Cam Talbot. Every time I turn a Red Wings game on, Cam Talbot's in the minute. Like, didn't they trade for John Gibson to come in there and be the starter, or what's going on? Like, every time I turn on this fucking Red Wings, I'm watching Cam Talbot.
They're fighting for this job?
I think they've been splitting pretty much. But every time I turn one on, Cam Talbot's in there.
Gibby played the night before.
Okay.
So, yeah.
Pick6.
But you're right. I think they've been splitting.
They've been splitting. I like to see Gibby in there a little bit more. That's why you went out and got him, Stevie Y. Pick6, get involved, boys. Always gamble responsibly with DraftKings. Fellas, it is the Kits Eyewear Dish of the Week. Missing the net 1 too many times? Yeah, might be time to get your eyes checked. All it takes is 30 minutes. Head to your local optometrist, grab that prescription, and upload it on kits.com. Pick your frame from just $28, fellas. These ones I'm wearing are the big Ebbets. And boom, next thing you know, knock on your door, Kits Eyewear fella. Ice pick, Vladimir Tarasenko. By the way, the Wild, since Quinn Hughes 2-0, they look unbelievable.
These jerseys, dude.
They're fire. They're unbelievable. Ice pick, get ready to roll here. The other night against the Capitals. This is Vladimir Tarasenko, boys. Look at this. How are you? Kits Eyewear on. Backdoor tap in. Wow.
Booyah.
Booyah. That is, I love it between the legs. Then got your Kits Eyewear on, check your shoulder, lay it to the guy, backdoor tap it. I could have buried that one, boys. That's our Kits Eyewear dish of the week. To me, whatever Vladdy did this offseason, he looks a little faster, a little skinnier, maybe a little shot of Ozempic, but this is NHL.
He looks skinnier. I can say that. Have you had a chance to look at this power play now? This power play with Kaprizov, him, Boldy, Hughes, it's something special. And we talked about it pre-show there, Schmaltzy. The way Vladdy used to shoot the puck was one of one. It was come off that toe, like little short stick, flimsy. He could pick corners from anywhere. This sort of play right here, he comes in, he looks like he might shoot it, and you gotta respect that. And then, wow, what a backdoor pass. I mean, just something special.
Yeah, I mean, you guys played the league a lot longer. You play with a lot more players, but the way vintage Tarasenko could shoot the puck, Uppy, was insane. And the biggest thing I think, Obes, is a lot of guys have to put it in the holster to shoot the puck. With Tarasenko, he could shoot an absolute just piss missile with his arms extended, which I had never really seen from a player before, because he could shoot it, obviously, if he had it in the holster, but his wrist shot when his arms were extended to kind of get around a guy, or maybe a little bit of a toe suck in, it was incredible. So he's looking pretty good. That move, obviously, on Rasmus Sandin, you got to respect the shot there as Sandin, and him being a little bit smaller stature, he's not going to play the body, and Tarasenko does a little, hey, how are you, through his legs, and that pass. That's all feel by Vladdy. So he's been through a lot in terms of a lot of surgeries, but I always love watching him play. So hopefully he can just kind of roll off of this, and being on that first power play for the Wild's only going to help.
Yeah, it was a nice pickup by Billy G in the offseason. I'll tell you what, I mean, they're a little banged up right now, but I put some money on the Wild. I got them at plus 2,000 to win the mug. I know coming through that Central Division is going to be a goddamn war with Colorado, Dallas, and now them. But at those odds, I couldn't pass up on it. But like right now, Marcus Johansson and Zuccarello are out. The big boy Middleton and Brodin are out on the back end. Like when you put those guys back in, and you have a back end of Quinn Hughes, Faber, Spurgeon, Middleton, Brodin, and now you go back up front, you've put Zuccarello back in there with Johansson. It's like, I love Marcus Foligno. Hartman, I love.
Yeah, they could be in the.
I mean, they're obviously the Avalanche and Stars are maybe a little bit above them, but I like this team built come playoff time. And then to mention Swishy, now you got Quinn Hughes who could play when playoffs start. He can play half the game for you.
Well, he could play half, and then on the other side, Brock Faber could play half. And Jonas Brodin has a stick like Stevie Wonder or Ray Charles. I mean, he's had as an elite stick for the last 12, 13 years. One of the best stick on puck in the league in terms of shutting guys down. So they do have a lot of good pieces there. I like Middleton's game when he's back healthy. I think it's going to come down to just the star power, and then goaltending will be the biggest thing for that team to get over the hump.
Yeah, you got to give Billy G credit. He's built a nice one here. That was our Kits Eyewear dish of the week. Check it out, fellas. Up dog, my man. Get this guy a Labatt Blue.
Fellas, brought to you by Labatt. With Labatt, you can buy beer and get gear. Go to their website, snap a photo of your receipt, and upload it to gain points towards exclusive merch. Any size, any product, anywhere you're buying Labatt. Sign up, fellas, at rewards.labattusa.com.
The pristine Pilsner. Fellas, I'm dishing out 2 ice-cold Labatt Blues. First of all, to a guy that I listen to a lot, Joe Bowen. It's his last year with the Toronto Maple Leafs. 44 years he's been calling Leafs games. His signature line is Holy Mackinac. Holy Mackinac. The other night against the Blackhawks, they had Holy Mackinac night. They named, the Foster Hewitt booth up there. The other part of it, Joe Bowen's booth. You ask any Leafs fan, Joe Bowen, his voice is just Toronto Maple Leaf hockey. So, Joe, good on you to the Leafs. Good on you. Get yourself a Labatt Blue. Holy Mackinac. I love Joe Bowen. And then Leon Draisaitl, first German-born player, 1,000 points, only 800 in some games. Leon, I know you like an ice-cold Labatt Blue. You're good German. Get one in you, fella.
Yeah, that was just something special. And to do it in class with 4 of them against Sid the Kid, highlight reel goals. I mean, against Skinner.
Yeah.
That photo is something special when they're all coming out on the ice and Skinner there just working his crease over. Poor Bass.
Poor Skinner.
But no, just listen, getting to know Leon as a guy and watching him play the last, let's just say 5-6 years, just the way he's taken his game to the next level. And, for a German, that's pretty fucking awesome.
Yeah.
It's awesome.
I'll tell you what, Swishy, before we get this guy Labatt Blue, his 1,001 point might have been his easiest point of his fucking career. He just got it, went to the middle, and 97 right out of a goddamn cannon. And I'm like watching this on the couch. I'm like, look at and that was by Letang. I know Letang's a little fucking long in the tooth, but and Skinner was just like, fuck. I'm like, turn the lights out. I mean, it was crazy. So, boys, get those boys a Labatt Blue. Always drink responsibly. Another guy here, our guest, I know he likes a good Labatt Blue. We saw him over in the motherland of Ireland. Pierre McGuire. This is a good one, boys. Pierre, listen, he's great for the game. So I hope you guys enjoy this. Pierre McGuire coming at you next on Missin Curfew. Welcome back to Missin Curfew. Up dog, Swishy. When I think of this guy, I think of a character. He was good for the game, always brought energy. Anytime I saw him in warm-up and maybe I was might have had a late night, he'd give me that handshake. Oh, it's nice to see you. And I'd say, oh, fuck, it's NHL and NBC. Let's get her going here. So, Pierre McGuire, thanks for joining us, buddy. We've wanted to have you on for a long time, so thank you for joining us.
Oh my gosh, it's my pleasure, Shane. Nice to see Jordan. Great to see Scotty. The first time I saw Scotty play was the O2 World Junior, and then he was a great Kamloops Blazer, but this is one that's going to blow you away. I was actually there the day he scored his first NHL goal at Madison Square Garden against a guy named Mike Richter. First shot, first goal, first game. Pretty good.
Not bad. Thanks for taking me down memory lane. God, life was easy back then.
He's talked about that goal a lot, Pierre, and I'm like, you scored on Mike Richter?
Yeah.
Fucking, how old are we?
I've talked about it, but it was so long ago you can't find it on TV. I don't even know if it's on YouTube, Pierre.
Yes, it is. It's good. It was a great shot, by the way. But you know what your riddle calling card was? I remember the most was the 03 World Junior in Halifax. You were just fantastic for Team Canada. It was a tremendous Team Canada run to the gold medal game. Just a little bit too much of a 16-year-old named Alexander Ovechkin in that run.
Yeah, it sure was. It was a coming out party for for a bunch of guys. We often talk about Jordan Tutu in that World Juniors. It kind of goes back there. That was just an electric building, wasn't it?
Oh my gosh! And Jordan Tutu, the Tutu train, as the fans were calling him, then he was just crushing everybody in sight. And let's not forget Marc-Andre Fleury. That was his draft year. Same as Shane, by the way, the 03 draft, except he went first. The fact that you made it from where you were drafted is unbelievable. I'm so proud every day. That's what I admired the most about you when I saw you the first time in Anaheim. One of your first games is the fact that you were drafted so deep in the draft and you're already up there. And it was a phenomenal thing to witness your work habits. And you were actually really tough, as you know.
Thank you. Yeah, I fooled him for a little bit, Pierre. But going back to that World Juniors, I just remember watching. I was playing junior in Kingston, and I obviously knew who Jordan Tutu was, but I never really watched him play live. And that game against Sweden, Pierre, I'll never forget the look on poor Swedish kids' faces. Like they didn't want to go on the ice. Like Toots was just it was no holds barred out there.
It was savage, actually. And Scotty remembers how hard the boards were in Halifax, and there was no giving those boards. It was like hitting concrete, fellas. And Jordan made you pay. I remember after that, it's a pretty good story. I remember after that World Junior, Gord Miller and I had a game in Detroit, and Brett Hull was playing in Detroit, and Steve Yzerman was playing Detroit. And they're like, you guys are pumping up this guy Tutu. Though they were mad because Steve was eventually going to play in Nashville against Detroit, and they were giving us a hard time about selling Tutu. It was pretty funny.
I know it goes back. Trotzy always said, Toots, it's pretty cool when you have like Steve Yzerman looking over at our bench, like wondering if I'm going to put you out on the ice. Like to know like a Hall of Famer is just, don't put him out there when we're out there. Is there a better compliment? Like when you're just a young wrecking ball machine? But he was absolutely, he was savage. But you go back.
Savage is a good word for it.
Yeah. Yeah. You go back. It was just, Pierre, witnessing that for a guy like you, seeing all these young kids, play for their country. and then watching them go on to be pros and getting to talk about where they're from, their hometowns. One thing about you, buddy, you always remember where guys are from, and it's one of the first things you say about them. It's a pretty special little feat you got.
I think it's really important to celebrate the journey. I've talked to Jordan about this before. You respect the people that help the people get to the National Hockey League. There's so many people along, whether it's a mother or father, whether it's a stepfather, whether it's an older brother, whether it's a youth hockey coach. I think it's really important to recognize those people. That's why I do that. I know how popular you are in Fort McMurray. I mean, I get it. You're a really popular guy there, but I also know how popular you are in Kamloops. So I can speak to that. I know for Jordan, in the instance of North Dakota, and how much they think of him over in Grand Forks, and obviously, Shane, I knew you played in Kingston, and I know about your time in Cincinnati. I know how popular you were when you played with Maine in the American Hockey League. So, I mean, I can go down the road, but I think it's important to know that about people, especially if you're going to work on the broadcast side of things.
Pierre, I wanted to ask you, and we've chatted before, but you're a dual sport athlete at Babson College. Then you make your way to St. Lawrence, and you're coaching there as an assistant coach. And you spent 2 years there, and you make your way to the Pittsburgh Penguins, and a guy that recognized you happens to be a 12 or 13-time Stanley Cup champion, and William Scotty Bowman. Now, your connection to him, and how did you first break into the National Hockey League? And just take us down memory lane in terms of, where was that moment where Scotty was like, hey, you know what, Pierre, we see something in you. We're going to bring you on the staff here in Pittsburgh. Then ultimately you guys end up winning a mug, a few years later.
Yeah. So actually, it's a good question, Jordan. I was coaching at St. Lawrence, and one of our players who had played the year before, Peter McGuire, broke his neck in an American Hockey League game out in Cape Breton. When they were at Edmonton Oilers farm team. So our head coach, Joe Marsh, actually, what an amazing guy he is. He went out there and actually helped rehabilitate Peter. So I was running the practices, and Scotty Bowman's daughter, on the advice of Mike Keenan, who was an alum of St. Lawrence, went to go look at St. Lawrence University. And Scotty wasn't working for Buffalo at that time. He was working for Hockey Night in Canada. And Scotty watched the practice, and I was in my office riding the bike, and he comes in and he goes, hey, I'd like to talk to you about that practice. I really enjoyed watching it. And I'm like, oh, thank you. And all of a sudden, as a kid who grew up in Montreal, I recognized, oh my gosh, this is Scotty Bowman. I said, hi, Mr. Bowman, Pierre McGuire, nice to meet you. And he goes, can I get your phone number? Now, back then, there were no cell phones. There was no internet. There was none of this stuff. And so I gave my phone number. And that night, believe it or not, he called me from Montreal. And he said, I really like that practice. Take me through all those drills. Why'd you do this? Why'd you do that? Why'd you do this? And so at the end of it, he said, look, I want to stay in touch with you if that's all right. I said, absolutely. And we started talking a lot. About a month or two later, he said he had a huge job interview for the New York Rangers presidency. And if he got the job, he wanted to know if I would go with him. And I was like, yeah, sure. And then he called me up after the interview, and he said that I'm not going to take the New York job. And then probably less than 9 months later, he took the Pittsburgh job, and he called me that day and he said, I really want you to come. And I did. And the rest is history.
Pierre, as an assistant coach, some of my favorite assistant coach, Rick Bowness, for example, always talking, good morning, how are you? Always, how you doing? Like, is that how you were as an assistant coach as well? Were you talkative? Were you always talking to the boys, trying to cheer them up, get them going? Or what was your style as an assistant coach?
Communicate a lot, try to make guys feel better, know your role, try to make guys feel better on the ice, try to improve their hand skills, try to improve their feet, try to improve their mental skills, all these different things. But I loved working with players. I thought it was fantastic. One of the guys that I really remember working with a lot is Big Jim McKenzie. He was an unbelievably tough guy, spent hours and hours passing him pucks, and he was just so receptive to trying to get better. And he was as tough as there was in those days. Jaromir Jagr was another one, just spent so much time with Jaromir on the ice. Ulfi Samuelson, I'm not trying to name drop, but Larry Murphy, Ulfi Samuelson, Joey Mullen, Kevin Stevens, Christopher Pronger. It never got old with all those guys. It was a treat to have an opportunity to work with them. It really was, all those guys.
Yeah, and I'll tell you what, Pierre, like for me, I almost took for granted how Rick Bowness was so good at communicating as an assistant coach. Like when you're going through the ups and downs of a season, not every assistant coach could do that. So as an ex-player, and as you know, that goes a long way when you can communicate with your assistant coaches and kind of know where you stand throughout the whole coaching staff.
I think that's an awesome thing. One of the things I remember the most about being an assistant where I wasn't as popular, I can tell you, it was in the 1992 Stanley Cup final. We were playing the Chicago Blackhawks. We were up 3-0. Jordan will appreciate this, especially with the proximity that he grew up to in Chicago. Gordy Roberts, who I just cherish. He was a phenomenal player for us, and I was running the defense, and Gordy was having a tough game 4, and I went to Scotty and I said, I think we're going to give Gordy a little rest. He said, stop bugging me. I gotta work the forwards. You can run the D. And Gordy was really upset with me, and he didn't talk to me the rest of the game. We ended up winning game 4. And at the end of it, I thought he was going to slug me right in the face, even though we had won the cup, the second cup in 2 years. And he came up to me, and he was the ultimate gentleman. He said, you were right, and I was wrong. And shook hands, we hugged, and it just he was older than I was, too. And I had so much respect for him because of the way he handled that. I really did.
Yeah, Pierre, you talked about name dropping. I got your team up here the years you won the cups. But listen, you mentioned Larry Murphy. That was a guy I looked up to in Toronto. Not the fleetest of foot, but God made a good first pass. Always seemed to be in the right position. But I want to ask you about Mario. I was lucky enough to play with some world-class players, Marty St. Louis, Vinny Lecavier, the Sedins, but Mario Lemieux was a kid that when I was younger, I watched his documentary, Mario the Magnificent. But what was it like being around him day in and day out, and how incredible of a player and person was he?
The best story I can give you about Mario is every time he dressed, you thought you had a chance to win. Usually you say that about an elite goalie, but with Mario Shaden, you kind of knew every time he was on the ice, you had a chance to win. In training camp in the fall of 1991, we were heading out to Vail, Colorado. That was Bob Johnson's idea. Bob was sick that year, so he was in the hospital. Eventually, he passed away from brain cancer. But I took the team out west, and Scotty stayed back east with some of our other players. And we were late getting off the plane. It was a commercial flight into the original Denver airport, which was close to downtown. And I called Craig Patrick and Scotty Bowman at the office in Pittsburgh, and I said, fellas, we're really late. I don't know if we can make it on the ice. And Scotty was like, no, you're getting them on the ice. So I went to Mario and I said, hey, his nickname's Ace. I said, Ace, we got practice today. What can I do to make it easier for you guys to practice? He said, we need to eat. So we pulled over. I don't know. I don't want to be rude to anybody, whether it was McDonald's, Wendy's. I have no idea. We pulled over at a fast food place. All these guys get off the bus. They go on, they bring it back on the bus. Mario was smiling. You ask any player. Kevin Stevens was there. I think Mark Recchi was there. Paul Coffey was there. Like, again, not name dropping, but those were just the players that were there. Mario put on a show that night in practice right after we left the Evergreen Lodge where we were staying at the Runic in downtown Vail. To this day, all those players will tell you they've never seen anything like it. It was unbelievable. It was one of the best displays of leadership I'd ever seen.
Yeah.
And Pierre, yeah, and speaking of leadership here, now I'm taking you back to the 1993 season in Hartford where you step in for Paul Holmgren and you become the head coach of the Hartford Whalers. And previously that summer, you drafted a young man out of Dryden, Ontario named Christopher Pronger. 6'6", string bean, coming into the league at 18 years old. What do you remember from that season of Chris Pronger, and were there any veterans on that team that really helped Chris out get adjusted to the National Hockey League level?
First of all, not enough credit goes to Brian Burke on that deal. What a good question, Jordan. Thanks for asking it. Not enough credit goes to Brian Burke. He engineered an unbelievable three-way trade with Calgary and San Jose to be able to make that deal. We ended up with San Jose's second overall pick in that draft at the Colisée in Quebec. And that's the guy Brian targeted right from the start. And it was all Brian Burke all the time to make that deal. It was a brilliant move by him. He dealt with Jack Ferrara and he dealt with Dougie Riseborough, the two general managers of those respective teams. Got the deal done. I remember after we drafted him, Chris came down to Hartford. He stayed at my house for a few days. But what I remember the most is going up to Brad McCrimmon, the late Brad McCrimmon, and saying, Beast, I have a favor to ask of you. He goes, anything for you, Pete. What do you need? And I said, we got this guy Pronger, and we need you to look after him. I know you get your own room. I know you get a lot of different perks because you're an older guy. And Beast goes, well, it's not going to be hard for me. I broke in a guy named Bork in Boston. I broke in a guy named Howe in Philadelphia. And I broke in a guy named Lidstrom in Detroit. I think I can handle the Pronger kid. And so I think if you were to ask Christopher Pronger to this day, he would tell you maybe one of the greatest influences early in his career was the late Brad McCrimmon. I think of Beast every single day. I really do. I think of him every single day. He was an amazing man, just an unbelievable man.
Pierre, I was lucky. My rookie year, was the year that Berkey made the trade to bring in Prongs, and they went on to win the Stanley Cup. But for me, I'll never forget when I, made the club and went from the American Hockey League room into the big room and seeing Chris Pronger, and I was just like, first of all, intimidated, in awe a little bit. But like what Prongs did for me as a rookie, I'll never forget. Like his practice habits, how hard he passed the puck, how hard he practiced day in, day out. And then obviously the way he played in the game. I mean, he used to come to the bench. And I'm like, how did you get away with that? You just gave that guy 4 cross checks and told the ref, "I'll fuck off," and the ref apologized to you. But like he was such his practice habits, Pierre. I'll never forget how hard he practiced, how hard he passed the puck. And I was like, I'm going to emulate that as best I can.
I'm so glad to hear you say that, Shane, because I got to tell you, like Chris, at the beginning, he was such a good passer of the puck that sometimes, like in junior, he could just dominate. But in the pro, it took a while. And I called Scotty up one day and I said, "How'd you coach Larry Robinson?" He said, "I never gave him a bit of room to breathe." So I don't think Pronger liked me very much his first year. I'm not going to lie to you. But I know Brad was a really good buffer, and Brad really helped him a lot. And I'm glad, his career has been amazing. And to see what he's doing now and the way he's helping so many people, I think is fantastic. I'm really proud of him. Really proud of him.
Yeah, he was good to me too. He took me under his wing. Like he had me over for Thanksgiving and then Christmas, and the Crown Royal was flowing, Pierre? And I said to Prongs, I said, Prongs, I think your wife might have a crush on me. And he went, You don't make enough money for her to have a crush on you, Holmes.
By the way, it's nice that you get to play with him early because
I didn't get out there much with him, man.
I know, but if you don't, I mean, he's one of the guys. He was the biggest prick out there. Like he got away with everything, like you said. And then, like Pierre, but just back to him for a sec. When he came in, was there anyone hard on him when he was that 18, 19-year-old kid, like on his team? Because he was known kind of to be hard on his younger guys on his team, like demanding that they be, doing extra and that stuff. But was there anyone that stands out that was like, "Hey, I'm going to make this hard on you, kid, now that you're in the NHL here"?
I don't think hard on him. I think obviously Beast, Brad McCrimmon was really a good mentor for him, but I think Pat Verbeek probably challenged him a lot. We had a really good line. People forget this, the CVS line, Castle, Sanderson, Verbeek. Sanderson in the 2 years I was there had 41 of 46 goals. Verbeek was over 80 points. I mean, Pat Verbeek was he's got over 500 goals in the league. I don't know how many people know that, and Castles was a really good player, but I think the guy that was probably the hardest on him, challenging him in many ways, was probably Pat.
Hey, Pierre, just staying with Hartford there for a sec. They kind of known to, have all these guys that ended up leaving hockey and going into coaching, going into GM. You talked about Pat Verbeek, Dave Tippett, Coach Q, Kevin Deneen. What was it about, playing in Hartford and having like the mall to go to? I heard back in the day that was kind of the only place to go hang out. But what was it about that place that produced all these guys that, stayed in as leaders, as coaches and successful ones?
It's a great question too, Scotty. I think that one of the things was that they drafted really smart players. They had an identity in terms of the type of team they wanted to have. Ronnie Francis as Exhibit A, really, really smart player. Pronger would be another one. All different. Emil Francis was there for the longest time. And the late Emil Francis was a phenomenal hockey man. I don't know if any of you three ever had an opportunity to meet him, but I had the honor of working for him. He was a president of our hockey operations group, and I can't say enough good things about the late Emil Francis, and I think he played a pretty significant role in the types of players he drafted, and most of those guys, Scotty, had really good hockey IQ. I'll tell you a quick one. My first ever head coaching when I was in Florida was in overtime. Jeff Reese was the goalie of record, and I believe Robert Cron scored the game-winning goal. And what I remember the most is after the game, Emil wanted to come into the dressing room and give me a hug. And there's a massive security guard in the old Miami Arena downtown. And you wouldn't let him in because Emil didn't have a press pass. And if you knew Emil, he wasn't extremely big, and this guard was huge. Emil was ready to fight the guy, and I'm like, no, oh, come on and let him in. He's the president of our team. I think Mr. Francis played a pretty significant role in that, Scotty, just the type of players that he wanted to draft.
I'll tell you what, Pat Verbeek, look at this, the year you're talking about, 37 goals, 75 points, 177 PIMs. How are you? But I'll tell you what, Pierre, I got to be honest, when Pat first came out here, I wasn't sure about him. I don't know him, obviously at all, but he, you got to give him credit. He's done a hell of a job out here with the Beckett Seneca pick at 3rd overall. He took some heat on that. Even the Leo Carlson over Fantelli was a questionable pick. I mean, you got to give this guy credit. He's gone out here and built the team that he wanted to build, Pierre.
I don't think people realize, Shane, just how hard he worked to get to where he is. He was, obviously an Yzerman ally, and they go all the way back to the Interior Hockey League and basically have the same career path in terms of playing in the Interior League, playing in the NHL. Obviously, Patty moved around a little bit more. But when they went to Tampa together after they spent a little time in Detroit, I think Pat really refined his scouting and his eye for talent. And, one of the cool things is, it was a pretty substantial game in LA. It was probably a playoff game later in the year. And Pat was there, and we just sat down and talked about certain things about philosophy of how he sees players. And I thought it was really, really important that, you could see just where he was going with his career. And I think he's done a masterful job. Along, by the way, with Martin Madden Jr., people don't like to hear the names of Chief scouts. Martin Madden Jr. has done an unbelievable job scouting for the Anaheim Ducks. Unbelievable job.
See, that's the details Pierre was there, right? That's the details. That's the little things. Pierre, I want to go back, and they've done a hell of a job. I got people from my golf course asking me for Ducks tickets. I haven't had people ask me for Ducks tickets since Getzey was snapping around. So I was like, all right, the boys are back on the map. But Pierre, I want to go back to your Pittsburgh days. Just a guy that we've got to know really well here. The real Rocket Talkett, Rick Talkett. He's doing unbelievable things to Philly. But what was he like? I mean, seeing his highlights and obviously, played the game the right way, but being around him day in and day out, what was it like being around Talks? Because I absolutely love that man.
Yeah, he's one of my favorites. He knows it too, so he takes advantage of it from time to time. But when he got traded to us, I picked he and Shel Samuelson up at the airport in Pittsburgh, and we went and had breakfast at the old Western Hotel. It's a great breakfast, and I was telling him what their roles would be, and I got a good Talkett story for you. So we played at home. I think we won the game, and then the next day was a Friday. We were flying from Pittsburgh to Syracuse to Montreal, and we were always going commercial. Back in those days, it was U.S. Air at the time, which doesn't exist anymore. They amalgamated with American Airlines. And so it was a long road trip too, and we always gave out the per diem envelopes, as you guys know, before the trip. And we land, and this is the years before ATMs were actually anywhere. And Rick comes up to me at the airport in Syracuse, and he goes, can I get an advance on the next per diem? I'm like, what? I just gave you an envelope. He goes, these guys cleaned me out. So they cleaned him out in 25 minutes because that's how long it took to fly from Pittsburgh to Syracuse. He got wiped out in 25 minutes. So I remember that the most about his playing days. But I would tell you this, seriously, he was about as tough as any man you'd ever meet. And one day we were playing in Chicago on a Saturday or Sunday afternoon, and he got hit right in the face with a puck right in front of our bench. You could tell his face was fouled up. Never missed a shift, played the whole game. We ended up winning the game. It gave us home ice advantage against the Chicago Blackhawks in the Stanley Cup final. And I'm telling you right now, Mike Keenan was coach of Chicago. They wanted to take Talk out right there. They knew he was hurt. He never bailed out at all. It was unbelievable how tough he was. Really amazing.
The real Rocket Talkett. He's unbelievable. One of my favorites. Pierre, I wanted to ask you, we share a love for one man in particular in terms of the way he played the game, and that is Robert Gordon Orr, the pride of Parry Sound, Ontario. Now, people always argue, he played in an era where there was expansion. It was in the 60s and the 70s, as you know, the merger with the WHA, the NHL, the league brought in a lot of teams. Now, how would Robert Gordon Orr fare in today's NHL? Would he be on the likes of Cale Makar, Quinn Hughes? It's hard to compare eras, but I just don't think he gets enough respect for how truly, he innovated the game in terms of how defense was played.
There were two players that really changed the way the game was played from the back end, Jared. What an awesome way to look at it. One was the late Doug Harvey, because he was the precursor to obviously Bobby, and then Bobby Orr. And if you were to ask me, I saw Bobby Orr play when I was a little boy. He was probably the only player I ever cheered for that wasn't a Montreal Canadian. I mean that. And how would he fare today? I think he'd be above anybody that would be in the league as long as he was healthy. I mean, you take the power and the skating of Makar, and then you add in the offensive flair and the toughness. He was tough as nails. There's a great, I don't know if you guys had ever seen it. He fought Pat Quinn. He fought so many tough guys back in the day. He was as tough as there was, and he was, I just go by what Scotty said. Scotty said as good as any player that ever played.
Yeah, he's my dad's favorite player. Shout out to Pitter, Patty O'Brien. He'd always like Bobby Orr. Bobby Orr was playing today. They wouldn't get the puck off him. My dad loves the old days, Pierre? He's like, in the old days, they used to do this. In the old days. I said, that's because you're fucking old, Pitter. But no, he loved Bobby Orr. He loves Bobby Orr.
Hard not to.
Yeah. Pierre, I want to move into your TV career, buddy. I don't know if you get enough credit for how good you were at it, but we've all gone to the media after we were done. Was it something that you wanted to do right away? What was your first step to get into media? Because it seemed like such a natural fit for you. Was it something you always had your eye on?
No, I never did. Never once. I was coaching St. Louis's East Coast Hockey League team, believe it or not, down in Baton Rouge, Louisiana. It was a brand new team. We did really well, too. Mike Keenan and Bob Berry and the late Bob Plager asked me to go down there and do that, so I did for a year. It was awesome. I loved it. There's a gentleman who's no longer with us, Ted Blackman. He was running the Montreal Canadian broadcasts on CJD radio in Montreal, the town where I grew up, and he said, we're going to make some changes with our radio crew, and we were going over some tapes of when you were coaching in the league and some of the interviews, and we really were wondering if you have any interest in doing this. I said, well, I'm going to be up in Montreal visiting my parents in June. I said, if you want, I can come in and meet with you. And they go, we'd love that. So I went in and met with them. And then they said, would you do a screen test? I said, sure. Just tell me what I need to do. And I did. They offered me the job right after that screen test, and I took it. And he said to me, we're not going to have you here long. I'm like, that's a bad way to start a relationship. Why is that? And he said, I would think you'll probably move on to TV pretty quick. And that's kind of what happened. I was really fortunate. I did 2 years with Montreal on the radio, started doing a lot of TV at TSN in Toronto. Shane, then the rest was history. It was just so much fun. I really enjoyed it. I did. I enjoyed it.
Yeah, well, you were great at it. And, like I said before, I don't know if you guys got enough credit for how good it was back on NBC, right? With you and Jonesy. We love Keith Jones. He's doing great things in Philly now. And then obviously, I'll never forget you and Milbury. You and Milbury going toe-to-toe at times on that set, arguing with each other. But looking back, you both were very passionate about it, Pierre. And as a viewer and an ex-player, that's what we wanted to see. But did you enjoy going toe-to-toe with Mike at times and those arguments? Because on TV, it was good TV.
I really respect Mike. I think Mike's a vastly underrated hockey person. I don't think he gets enough credit with what he did with the New York Islanders back in the day. Big Zdeno Chara, you guys know who he is. Obviously, y'all played against him at different times. If it weren't for Mike Milbury, I'm not sure Zdeno Chara would be with the New York Islanders. I don't even know if he would have been drafted as early as he was. No, Mike had a really good vision for players. I liked how tough Mike was as a coach. I coached against Mike. He was, and I'll tell you guys one thing right now. Mike never got enough credit. No, they always show the thing with him going in the stands with the shoe. Mike was an amazing athlete. I don't know if you guys know, he was a great football player. He was a really good baseball player. He played basketball. He was a really hard-nosed hockey player. I always got along great, but I like those discussions. I like those debates. I think those are important parts of making for good TV.
Pierre, just the position you took as a role of in between the benches, coming from being a coach and being around, the players, was that something that you felt was just this natural fit for, sharing hockey and sharing the speed of hockey and the story of these guys coming up? That position is such a unique spot for a commentator, and you did such a good job at it. But what did you feel like your strength was coming in and being so close to the action like that and sharing that with the fans?
Breaking down the line matchups, breaking down the speed of the game, trying to translate, Scotty, the speed of the game to the people at home. That's one of the things that TV doesn't capture. You guys all know it because you're in the rink all the time. The speed of the game, transferring it to the people at home, it really doesn't work all the time. So you really got to try to translate that verbally. I like that. I liked hearing the discussion between players and coaches, between players and players, some Stanley Cup moments that were pretty colorful with players yelling at different players or different coaches yelling at different players. So I enjoyed it. I got the job really to start doing that in 2004. Sam Flood approached me at the Stanley Cup final in Tampa, and he said, do you think you could broadcast a game from between the benches? I said, I know I can, but the league will never allow it. And he said, you leave that to Dick Ebersol and me, and if you think you can do it, you got the job. And I said, I know I can do it. And he says, good, congratulations, you got the job.
Yeah, Pierre, I think you still would be one of the most coveted free agents for a job like that. You were my favorite in between the glass, and just a viral moment that, I'll always go back and whether I'm half pinned some nights or just, my buddies will send it to me, is the Phil Kessel "How's Your Breath" clip. I mean, you've been asked about it a ton, but that is such a good clip because just the TV in the real time is just gold. You're just like, "Phil, how's your breath?" He's like, "It stinks, eh?" He's like, "Oh, yeah, it's bad, eh?" Oh, can you just talk about that?
You know what? Such a good, you know what? I'm glad you brought that up, Jordan, because I want to compliment Phil Kessel. I felt so bad the way that came out. And that was kind of like a bad translation from French to English, And so that's on me. That's on Phil. But to show you what kind of guy Phil is, the next day I wanted to apologize to him. So I went to the rink really early. It was Pittsburgh playing Tampa in the playoffs. And I went in the dressing room. And I had the ability, the coaching staff actually let me in. I didn't just go into the dressing room. The coaching staff let me in. And they had all this gum in Phil's stall, like wads of gum everywhere. And I knew it was a prank. They were playing with it. And I just said, "Phil, I want to apologize, man. I feel so bad. I didn't mean to do that to you." He goes, "No, not at all, not at all." And he took it so well. I was so grateful they didn't, start yelling and screaming at me. He was an amazing guy to deal with. And Phil was I always said I thought a real solid relationship with Phil. I felt really bad about that, but now you look back at it, the way Phil handled it was so good. It was amazing.
Yeah, that's one thing I love about Phil. He never took himself too seriously, right? Like, they boo him out of Toronto and he goes to Pittsburgh and wins a couple cups. Pierre, I want to ask you about your play-by-play guy, Doc Emmerich. Some of his sayings where he waffle boards it down the wall. And, I used to see him in Jersey when he was doing the play-by-play there. But obviously on the national stage with you, like, I kind of took him for granted, I think, too. And then obviously when your guys' run came to an end, I was like, God, I miss Doc Emmerich. But I mean, he could call a match, can't he?
Oh my gosh, Shane, unbelievable guy. Jordan and Scott, I got to tell you, Doc Emmerich knew more about you guys than you would know about yourselves. Like, I mean that sincerely. The work that man put in and day out to make it right. We would do Olympic games. We'd do women's games. We'd do college games at Notre Dame. We'd do NHL games on Sunday after doing a Notre Dame game on a Friday. Doc Emmerich was constantly working. He always wanted to get it right. He never wanted to miss anything about any player, any coach, any trainer. His passion for the game, off the charts, just a fantastic human being, an amazing teammate. We were texting back and forth the other day. I would never tell you how grateful I am and always will be to call him a partner. He was an amazing teammate, amazing.
Yeah, and just last on the NHL and NBC, like, when did you guys realize it was coming to an end? Like, was it something you guys, were prepared for? Or, because it kind of caught everyone by surprise that, ESPN was jumping back in and TNT, like, did you guys know coming in and down the stretch that it was coming to an end?
No. I think we found out probably into the second round of the playoffs.
It's crazy.
I know that I was going through a courtship with the Ottawa Senators at the time with their owner that's passed away now, Eugene Melnick. So even though NBC had the rights, there was a chance I was going to leave anyways. But then I'm going to say probably the second round, we found out that it wasn't in a good position, and it got very emotional. And then I remember we did our last game, Tampa, Montreal in the Stanley Cup final. And you guys know the Marriott that's right by the waterside there in Tampa. We got together in a boardroom, and as much as it was a 16-year run, it seemed like those 16 years went by so fast, fellas. And it was really sad. It was really emotional because I thought Sam Flood and Dick Ebersol and Doc Emmerich and Eddie Olchuk and John Davidson and, all the people that worked there, Matt Meyervin, and oh my gosh, they would go down the line, all the great producers and directors and sound people and statisticians. It was like an amazing team. It really was. It was awesome.
I look back, you talk about how fast it goes. I look back to like our time I was in Philly. It was like versus, right? And then finally NBC comes over and all your friends around town can watch this game on a good network with a good squad calling the game. It was just so much better for hockey. But you look back and it's a cutthroat world when it comes to TV, the rights and the broadcasting and that rev share and all that stuff. So, but on a high, Pierre, just the Olympics, and I think you've done 6 of them with that squad. Looking back with the Olympics coming up here in a month or so, like what those moments and those memories of calling such big games, in front of such a worldwide crowd, must have been pretty special. And you look back, there's got to be some highlights there.
Oh man! First of all, 2002. I'll never forget '02. It's having the opportunity to be invited to the Team Canada party after they win it gold, and talking to Michael Peck and talking to Chris Pronger and talking to Mario, who was still playing at that time, part of an amazing goal. Paul Curry at the time. It really was. It was awesome. Marty Brodeur, who took over the net from Curtis Joseph in '02. And what I remember is trying to recruit Brodeur when he was 16 years of age to come play for us at St. Lawrence. So many good memories. '02 was great. '06 was not as good. 2010, the golden goal by Crosby. And this is one for all the fans out there. At that time, there were 34 million people that lived in Canada. 26 million people watched the gold medal game on TV. 26 million. That's an amazing stat. So, Scotty, so many good memories. The 14 team from Canada by far was the best team. They just clubbed everybody. It wasn't even close. And so it's great that they're going to go best on best. I'm kind of turning it back a page. I was asked by NBC to do some stuff for them digitally, so I'm really excited about that for this Olympics. So that'll be 8. That'll be the Olympics number 8. And 2 of them were summer, and then obviously 6 in the winter. So excited about that.
Pierre, you've worked Olympics, you've worked World Juniors, and I just, growing up, especially just the way you could articulate, the way you could decorate the World Junior Championships and just, get the story across to all the families that were, not at the National Hockey League level, but you just knew everything about all the players on the ice. But I wanted to ask you about one World Junior in particular. And we're taking it back to 2004 in Grand Forks, North Dakota at the Ralph Engelstad Arena. By all accounts, that is the best World Junior of all time, no? I mean, just the amount of players in that term with the lockout.
Yeah, not even close.
Right?
Jordan, not even close. And I say that, Scotty Upshall played in 2 World Juniors, and so he knows this World Junior was crazy because it was all the guys who were in his draft in '03. And you think about it, like Getzlaff was on that team. Crosby, Bergeron, Corey Perry were aligned. Corey Perry almost didn't make the team. Like, you can go down the line. The guy, it was not Shea Weber on the back end. Brentford, like, go look at the guy. The roster was insane. It was insane. Dion Phaneuf, phenomenal in that World Junior. That was the World Junior, the double Dion. But
Double Dion, yes.
But what's really cool, and you're being a proud, you can't call them, what are you, Fighting Hawk now? Is that what they're called?
Yeah, I guess. Yeah.
I get it. I don't want to go down that road. I'm sorry. Anyways, they drank because the roads were closed back to Winnipeg. All the beer was drank in the city of Grand Forks by all the people in the football stadium that had to sleep there. There was no beer left.
There's no beer left at the Alaris Center. Yep.
Yeah, there was no beer left. I'm just telling you, they drank it out of house and home. It was unbelievable. It was the best World Junior. It was so good. I'm so glad that Jordan brought that up. And my favorite restaurant at that time in Grand Forks was actually in East Grand Forks on the other side of the Red River. It was called Whitey's, and it was awesome. Jordan, you've probably been there once or twice. I miss that place. Every time I go back there, I miss that place so much.
Yeah, it was an old school supper club on the Minnesota side. But speaking of just drinking the town out of beer, that sounds just like a normal weekend in North Dakota. I mean, those people up there, they're absolute piss tanks.
Oh, whenever I go there, I walk through the Cavalry Cemetery, because there's so many of my relatives that are buried there. I don't know if Scotty or Shane know, but my great-grandfather came to Grand Forks, North Dakota when it wasn't even a state. It was called the Territory of Dakota back in the 1800s. And my grandfather was born there. My 2 great aunts were born there. My dad's whole family grew up there. And so I go walk the cemetery there when it's less snow covered and see some amazing things and think some pretty cool thoughts. But I love going to Grand Forks. It is an amazing hockey voyage. I encourage everybody, if you've never been to the Ralph, you got to go to the Ralph just once, maybe more, but go once. You'll see what I'm talking about.
We might need a fellow tour up there. We might need a fellow tour up there by the sounds of it. Hey, Pierre, just on the double Dion thing, I had that on my notes as well. Was that something like just off the cuff, double Dion, something you were thinking about or not just read and react, double Dion, because it's a legendary call that still stands up to time. You know what I mean?
Shane, it was just off the top of my head because he just kabonged 2 Russians at one time. It was like unbelievable. And like Dion back then was bringing the heat. Like physically, he was a nasty piece of business. I think Scotty knows what I'm talking about. Probably those little rivalry games between Red Deer and Kamloops back in the day, there might be a little Upshall and that kind of stuff going on. After that World Junior, I don't know if you guys know this. It's not urban legend. It's real stuff. Getzlaff is playing for Calgary Hitmen, and it's Enough's playing for Red Deer and Brent Sutter, and it's their first game back after the World Junior. Guess what happens? First shift.
They scream.
Enough and Getzy get after one another.
That's exactly what those two boys would do too.
Yeah.
Both of them.
Pierre, I want to ask you about the World Juniors coming up right now. Obviously, the holiday season. The USA switched a good American-born player. They are back-to-back champs. It's in the great state of Minnesota. Obviously, we got Gavin McKenna and some other guys. But what are your thoughts on heading into this one? Would you say USA is the favorite or Canada, or what are your thoughts on that?
I think because it's in Minnesota is going to be a little bit of a home ice advantage, obviously, for the Team USA team. You talked about Gavin McKenna. I think one of the breakout players potentially to watch is a kid named Michael Hayes, who was a first-round pick a couple years ago, the Montreal Canadiens. He plays for the University of Michigan. He's a tremendous center iceman, really good player. You can play wing too, but it's going to be fun to watch this World Junior. Verhoff was obviously a North Dakota kid. He's playing for Canada on defense. He's got a chance to go first or second in the draft, depending on where McKenna goes. He's another good player playing for Canada out of Victoria, BC. A little advantage for the Americans, but Canada's they're overwhelmingly stacked. They're really, really stacked up. Good thing for the U.S., a lot of the better Canadian players are playing in the. Can you imagine? Connor Bedard could be playing there. Macklin Celebrini could be going there. I mean,
When you say it like that, Pierre, it's like we would roll them. But Pierre, I want to ask you, like, we've gotten to know a lot of guys from USA Hockey, the Tkachuk brothers, Keller. I mean, the list goes on and on. And to me, they seem like they have a closer, group of the way they grow up together. Like, I know it's different in Hockey Canada, playing in the CHL and this and that, but would you say that maybe USA Hockey has a better program right now, bringing guys up and making them closer-knit group?
I don't know if it's a better program. It's a different program. Major junior hockey is a big part of Canadian lore. It is. I like the fact that major junior players can now come and play college hockey. I really do. I think it's great, Shane. USA Hockey's done a really good job. I know the Schmaltz family's benefited from it. And I got to say, like, Jordan would probably be a better person to ask, but I think the American kids are tighter because most of them go through that program in Michigan. They play together. They struggle together. They fight each other for ice time. But I still think Canada is an amazing hockey country and will always be an amazing hockey country.
Swish, you want to tag that?
Yeah, for sure. I mean, I wasn't a U.S. program kid. I wasn't a milk drinker per se, but those guys, they do have a very tight bond there. I would always come in and just play tournaments with them. Hey, Pierre, you need a defenseman to run your power play, boys. I'll come in here. I'll step in for a couple tournaments. But I was the guy that played junior. I went to Sioux City, and then I went over to Green Bay. And then I actually got cut from that team. I went to the 40 camp. They said, you know what, we don't want you. But then they'd bring me in for tournaments. Funny how that worked. And then when Nick's time came up, he was like, one of the best players, obviously, at his 1996 birth year. I mean, if not the best, it was him and Eichel. And I just remember Peter Ward trying to convince Nick to come to the U.S. team. He's like, you know what? I'm good. You cut my brother. I'm going to Green Bay. I'm going to play with him. So we always felt some type of way towards those guys. But, you know what? I do think it is good for the majority of the players, for sure.
By the way, shout out to Nick Schmaltz, for his brother. Yeah. He's precious. And I think your other brother in the American Hockey League in Providence is off to an amazing start as well.
Yeah, that's my cousin, but he's basically my brother.
Is that your cousin? Okay, yeah.
Yep.
He's a North Dakota kid, though.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, he is.
Yeah. He's had a heck of a start there, too. He's doing really well.
Yeah, he's playing well.
Oh, sorry. Go ahead, Smish.
No, I was just saying he's playing well. He's playing on an American League contract, but he's doing well. He's found a nice role there.
Yeah, really well.
Pierre, I wanted to ask you, like, you've been around the game a long time, and obviously the skill right now is through the roof, and the speed is through the roof. The physicality, to me, is not where, it should be, but hey, I get it. Time's changing. I want to talk to you about hockey IQ with these kids that come up now. I watch these games, Pierre, and it's a lot of one-on-one and this and that. Like, do you think we're sacrificing hockey IQ for skill and skill coach and fucking this and that? Like, whatever happened to just learning how to play the game?
Oh my gosh, can we just can what you just said and play it for all these parents out there that are spending millions of dollars on all these skill development coaches? Hey, Leo Carlson's a great player. He's a great player. One of the things that makes him great is hockey sense is off the charts. You know, Patrice Bergeron was a great player. One of the things that made him a great player is hockey sense is off the charts. Brad Marchand's an unbelievably skilled player. Unbelievable, and you guys know this, unbelievably skilled player. His hockey sense is off the charts. He was one of the premier penalty killers in the league because of his hockey sense. Mike Richards wasn't super fast, wasn't super big, wasn't super tough. We were talking about Olympics before. Mike Richards, if you go back to the 2010 Olympics, playing on a line with Jonathan Toews and Rick Nash, if it weren't for that line, Canada would not have had the run that they had in the Olympics in 2010. What separated those guys? They all had unbelievable hockey sense. I think we've lost a little of that in terms of the development, and it's because we're always focusing in on faster, more toe dragging, quicker release. Oh, John Belleville would have had a hard time playing today if he didn't do all these skill development things. Yeah. Seriously. But his hockey sense was off the freaking charts.
Yeah, I agree with that. Speaking of that 2010, I was at that Canada-Russia game. That building was, do you remember how loud that was?
Remember the first 30 seconds? Oh, they almost killed Sergei Gonchar.
I know.
They put the puck in his corner. It was almost death from above for poor Sergei. I'm telling you.
I know. My buddy PJ was in town. I said, big guy, we're going to go in here. I know where the press box is. APR, I spent some nights up in the press box. I go, listen, we're going to go right up here. We're going to go in the Best Buy suite. We're going to get free booze all night long. And we walked in there, Pierre, and that place was going bananas, buddy.
Oh, yeah, no. I mean, I remember Babcock put that thing together and he copied, Jordan brought it up, but I thought it was a really good point about the 05 World Junior. Brett Sutter created the template for how to beat the Russians, and it started in the 05 World Junior. Go watch the tapes of those games. They knocked Ovechkin out before the end of the second period physically. They went right after Malkin. They were just seek and destroyed. It was amazing. And Canada brought that into the 2010 World Junior, or to the Olympic quarterfinal against Russia. And I'll never forget that. They started that line with Toews, Nash, and Richards. And Rick Nash hit that Sergei Gonchar so freaking hard, I thought he killed him.
Yeah. The city was buzzing that night, Swishy. I'll tell you, after that game, the city was buzzing. Pierre, last one for me, buddy. Listen, I could do this all day with you. You're an absolute legend and a beauty and so good for the game. I can't have you all without asking about your Montreal Canadiens. First of all, two-parter here for me. Do you remember when you were up for the job and I bumped into you in Vegas and you said, Obes, if I was the GM of Montreal Canadiens, I was coming after you. I was like, oh, Pierre, I wish you would have got that job. And we might have got ourselves in some trouble in Montreal. But how much do you follow the team now? One of my favorite teammates of all time, Marty St. Louis, is the head coach there. I love Marty. From a guy who loves the Canadiens, what are you seeing out of that group right now?
They're fast. They're really talented. They got guys with a lot of hockey sense. Jake Evans is one of those guys. Lane Hudson's another one of those guys. They're getting guys into better roles, which is really good. This Demidov is something else. He's going to be an unbelievable talent in the league. Nick Suzuki is one of those hockey sense players that we were talking about before. He processes a game so unbelievably well. That line, and I'm going to say Slavkovsky on that line, even though they're moving around Slavkovsky, Caulfield, and Suzuki, just a phenomenal line. I think Jacob Fowler is going to be one of the premier goalies in the National Hockey League over the coming years, and he'll probably have a 10 to 15-year career. Phenomenal player. So the Canadians are going in the right direction. St. Louis done a nice job coaching them. What I really like is Marty Lapointe's one of their chief scouts, and Nicky Bobroff's another one of their chief scouts. They don't run with the herd. That's why I like Jordan Schmaltz so much. He doesn't run with the herd. That's why I like Scotty and Shane so much. They don't run with their. I want guys that don't run with the herd. You're not afraid to say stuff. Yeah. I want that because that's how you build a team. And I think those two scouts in particular have done a great job finding guys that are diamonds in the rough and really developing them. And by the way, one more thing, a shout out to the American Hockey League because we've all had a little taste of it. What they're doing in Laval under Pascal Vincent is phenomenal. Phenomenal what they're doing there. I'm telling you right now.
I've had more than a taste of the American League. I had a full fucking case down there.
Taste, yeah.
Oh, you've had the whole fucking brewery. Not even a taste. Pierre, it wouldn't be a Pierre McGuire interview if I didn't ask you just for one thing. Do you have just every time I talk to you, it just feels like we're sitting down, we're having 15 drinks, and one day I hope we get to do that.
We're doing it there. Don't worry. We're going to get there.
And the hot stove with you, it would be truly unbelievable. But I need one obscure story from anything you got just off the top of your head. I know I'm putting you on the spot, but anytime you're on the show or we talk, I just love just hearing those old school obscure stories you got. So what do you got for me, brother?
One of the best ones ever is Freddie Shero and Mike Nicolak. A lot of people think that, Mike Nicolak was the first assistant coach ever hired in the National Hockey League. That actually wasn't true. Urban legend says Mike Nicolak and Fred Shero in Philly, first head coach, first assistant coach. That actually happened in Montreal, with Toe Blake and a guy named Claude Ruel. Claude Ruel was the first ever assistant coach, and the reason Claude got the job there, he had lost his eye playing junior hockey. He was an amazing hockey player, and the Canadians felt that, and they gave him a job, and he worked his way up, and he eventually became the head coach of a Stanley Cup winning team in Montreal. But he liked the pressure. So if you go Google Claude Ruel, you'll see what I'm talking about. But just a phenomenal hockey guy, and you go look, he turned into a scout and assistant coach. He was a jack of all trades. He's a name that not enough hockey people know about, Claude Ruel, the late Claude Ruel. I want to give a shout out. You guys are all former NHL players. This is really important. I've made my living in the league for 37 years. I'm so grateful for every day that I'm around the National Hockey League. Pierre Mondu was a really good hockey player. He was a really, really good hockey player. And when Claude Ruel was sick at the end of his life, every single day, Pierre Mondu would go to his house to make sure that guy was okay. And I got so much time for people like that, but that speaks to the brotherhood that's so great around the National Hockey League. And I know you guys are all part of that brotherhood. And when I think about that, just what Jordan asked me, I think about guys like Pierre Mondu and Claude Ruel.
Yeah, that's well said. You talk about the brotherhood. Our boy Kelly Chase is going through it right now, right? And you saw, stuff last night coming out of St. Louis of the support Chasers got. And that's probably the best thing about the NHL, Pierre, is how much of a brotherhood we have. And when guys are going through it, we stick together, right?
Oh boy, and that guy was tough, man. Oh man, he's tough now, but oh boy. I saw some good ones. He was tough. He and Tony Twist. There weren't a lot of guys that wanted to go into St. Louis when you had Chase and Twist. It was just not a lot of fun out there. And I know George's part of the alumni there in St. Louis, but oh my goodness gracious, those two guys could bring the heat.
Tougher than a $2 steak.
Pierre, one last.
Unless it's at Harry's in Grand Forks. Come on.
Pierre, one last thing for me. Man, it was a couple of years ago since our 40th birthday where we were pulling up to play a little round over in Dublin. And happened to see you and your boy and your family there staying at the same resort and golfing. Is that something you got on the books again? I mean, going over to Ireland and teeing up with your family, it was just probably as good as us doing it with our buddies. But how special is that place?
Oh, my gosh. And getting to see you two guys and then having a little adult beverage afterwards, that was phenomenal. I had so much fun with you guys over there. We were at Port Marnock that day. Port Marnock, yeah. I love golfing over there. Believe it or not, Scotty, I've been there. George McPhee and I were there giving a speech about a month and a half ago to the IIHF, and then I was back for a college tournament there 10 days ago, and I'm actually going back 3 days after Christmas for the women's tournament, believe it or not, that's over there. So I go to Belfast after I land in Dublin, and the people that own the Belfast Giants are just unbelievable. It's an amazing program, and so, I get to go over there, and I like going there a lot. And my daughter, who you met on that trip, she's actually she's been working over in Europe for the last 3 years after graduating from Dartmouth, and she's being transferred to London. So I'm going to be able to get over there a little bit more and do a little bit more golfing over there, which I like to do.
It's funny you mentioned the Belfast Giants. Near the end of my career, I was getting pretty shitty pretty quickly there. And my old man, shout out to Pitter again, he's like, why don't you go sign with the Belfast Giants and play in there? I will. How do you think that's going to work out with me in Ireland playing hockey? Like, how much beer I'm going to drink over there? But they got a pretty good little program, right, Pierre?
Oh, my gosh. They have a fantastic program. Bobby Carpenter, playing in the NHL for a long time, former first overall pick. His son, Bobo, who was a really good player at Boston University, he played over there last year. Now he's back in the East Coast League playing in Kansas City. But he had a real good year last year playing in Belfast. There are a lot of good players. There's some North Dakota guys playing over there right now. Jordan. And, I think the world, Stevie Thornton is a general manager there. He's done a magnificent job. And Shelton Keefe's brother, Adam, is actually the coach in Belfast right now.
Yeah, I played against Adam in the OHL. He was in, I think, maybe Barrie or Sault Ste. Marie. Tough little. He was tough, fought above his weight class a lot and played hard, and he was a tough little fucker.
Oh, yeah, no, he still looks like he can give a couple.
Yeah.
It still looks like he can go. Reminds me a little bit of Robbie DeMaio. Do you guys remember Robbie?
Yeah. He used to scout player personnel for St. Louis.
Yeah, Robbie was one of the toughest guys I ever saw in the Western Hockey League. He was maybe 5'8", about 165 pounds, playing in Medicine Hat. He fought everybody.
5'8", standing on his wallet.
The last thing about Ireland there, Pierre, is how good are the beers over there? Aren't they just tasty over there? There's something just different about them when they come out of that nice little tap over there in the motherland. It's just nice, isn't it?
It's just how nice the people are when they serve it to her as well.
Right?
They just take their time. Would you like another one, laddie? I was just, I would like another one. Thank you. That's so good. And they don't leave any marks the next day. Like you could have, at a normal sitting, maybe 8 to 10 or 12, whatever you like to do it. Wake up the next morning, you're ready to tee it high and let it fly. They don't leave any marks.
That's well said. It's well said. We got to get back over there. Hey, Pierre, man, listen, we appreciate this. Like I said, I could do this all day with you. You've been great for the game. You continue to be great for the game. Keep doing your thing, buddy. And let's do this again, because this was a lot of fun for the boys.
The three of you are amazing friends. I have so much respect for all three of you. Thank you so much. I really enjoyed being with you. Thank you, gentlemen. Thanks a lot.
Thank you. Welcome back to Missin Curfew, Up Dog, Swishy. Thank you to Pierre McGuire. I think Pierre sometimes back in the day got, kind of some people didn't love him or this and that. And then he left the game and I was like, I miss Pierre McGuire, man. He brought the energy. He's very knowledgeable of the game, as you can see from that interview. Loves the NHL, loves hockey. And I got to be honest, I miss seeing Pierre on TV.
To touch on that, at some points it's a thankless job. You're coming out, you're putting yourself out there like us in podcasting or in media, boys. You're always going to have critiques. You're always going to have, within the game of hockey, guys that are like, why are these guys in our room? Or, this guy said this about me last night, and he went into it talking about what he said to Phil, which is great TV, but he apologized. And some guys might take offense to stuff like that. I always liked him, and it's nice to know that each of you guys have, a special, either story or relationship with a guy like Pierre that you go back to. Because I always did. Like when I was young and, Czech Republic, World Juniors, the heartache we had losing in the finals and him calling that game, we lose with 3-4 minutes left. Russia scores to go ahead. And so he's been there for those moments with me, which take me back too. But
is that where Fleury let the stinker in?
No, that was after. So we lost in 2002 in the finals, and we lost in 2003 in the finals, both to Russia. In 2004,
he let
this fucking Fleury shot it in off Coburn's ass.
Yeah,
that was against the Americans, I believe, Schmaltzy, which maybe it's a little young for you, a little too old, but he was there for all those. So he and then him to touch on what Sutter did to beat the Russians in 2005 is the product of losing fucking 3-4 years in a row to those guys who just would never go away. Those Russians would just never fucking go away. The more you put them down and step on them, they're like beetles, man. You couldn't break your back.
The stinkier they got.
So Schmaltzy, and then you and him, man, going back to the Dakotas there and Grand Forks, that's a pretty special bond.
Yeah, Doug, I don't know if you remember it, but Pierre actually did my first NHL game. It was a game in Colorado, which we both had an assist on a Kyle Brodziak faceoff plays. You sent it. Kyle Brodziak won it up to me at the right point. I sent it to you to the half wall, and he threw a little half clapper at the net, and Brody beat his center to the net, and we ended up scoring on it. So we had an assist there on that play. But the thing about Pierre, guys, is people, you say what you want about him, but he was a character, and a character that really worked hard at his craft, to know the nuances of the game, to know the little details. The effort was always there, and that's something that I just think is maybe lost a little bit, OB, in terms of that preparation work and getting to know just the players in the league and what makes these guys tick in their background. So just a gentleman, a great dude, and say what you want about him, but he put in that work, and he truly loves the game of hockey, which I think is the coolest part about him.
Yeah, maybe the best handshake in the game, too. Anytime I would see him between the bench, I'd go over to stretch, I'd take my glove off and shake his hand, and it was just fucking right on the
right in there, yeah.
Yeah, and you always have a Stanley Cup ring. Anyone hopes? I'm like, And I wasn't joking. Anytime I would see him between the bench and it was an NBC game, I got a little more.
Yeah,
I got a little
sure.
more. I got a little more mojo.
Absolutely. I agree.
We got to get over to Ireland, though, and get pinned. Talk about a fellow tour. We got to get over there. Over there with all William Green and just get tuned out. Hey, Sushi?
Fuck it. Fuck, have we been getting pinned, boys? Yeah, I'm in.
There's been no shortage of getting pinned on the Missin Curfew squad here in the month of December. Hey, it's the holiday season. So thank you to Pierre McGuire, Swishy. Always thanks to you. Updog, you the man. Thank you to Hall Pass Media. Kyle, Casey, Conway, Max, the Ice Pick Pickup. That was Missin Curfew. Fellas.
Hi, this is Pierre McGuire. You're listening to and watching Missin Curfew.